Hi, I'm Ryan Fries, and I'm so glad you joined us today because today we're going to talk about agency identity. What it is, how to craft it, why it's important, and what it's going to do for us when we want to run the best agency or be the best insurance agent we can possibly be. But before we get started, I want to be sure that you have the paperwork in front of you that accompanies this exercise. So be sure to go to the link that's in the description or that you received in your email and print out the PDF that comes with that, because there's a few exercises in there that we're going to go through in this video series. So if you need to, go ahead and pause now and print that out before we get started. Agency identity is about how people interact and what they think about you and your business. Every business is a people business. And at the end of the day, your clients, your prospects, your vendors, the people that you pay bills to, insurance companies, MGAs, other providers, they're all made up of people. And you have to be able to interact with them. You need to engage with them. You need to perhaps sell them or try to manage expectations with them or walk them off the ledge if there's a particular issue. This all comes down to personality traits, and that's what we're mostly describing here. And when you define these things, it's going to help you run the business in a way that people can expect of you because of what you're set out to do. If you tell me, your materials tell me, and how you interact with people tell me that you're convenient, you're easy to work with, you're knowledgeable, then I have that expectation. And so that's what we're going to do in this first part of the series, is define for ourselves what it is that we want to be known for. So branding is more than your logo and your color scheme, although a lot of people like to talk about those things, and certainly they're important, but they're there to support the things that we're going to define in this exercise, which is what it is that people think about us when we interact with the world, and how we proactively put out into the world how we want to be treated and how we want to be expected to do business, and what people think of us when they talk to others. So let's go ahead and do the first exercise. This is the cornerstone to beginning the agency identity process so that you can do your very best work as an insurance agent. So this is the paperwork I was talking about before. And we want to be sure to finish the exercises throughout this course. It's going to assist us in making some big decisions down the line when it comes to operating our business. Okay. So exercise 1 says, list up to 5 words you want your customers or prospects to think when interacting with you or referring your business. So these are mostly adjectives, and we want to be very concise here. What do we want people to think about when they hear your name or they hear your agency's name, the business's name? Think about that a little bit and write down some words here. I'm going to do the same, and I'm sure we'll have different words, but for the purposes of the exercise, it'll be very similar in how we go about doing this. I'm going to give you a moment to write down a few things here before I get started. Okay, so I'm going to say that I want to be known as being friendly. I want, if someone's speaking about me to another, or if they refer someone to me, I want them to know that I'm knowledgeable. Let's see. I also want, what would be another good word that I'd want people to share about me? I'm going to say enjoy. I'd like people to say that they enjoyed working with me. They enjoyed the experience, which is unique, particularly in our space, because insurance is not usually an enjoyable experience. It's usually purchased for necessity, right? Some sort of protection requirement to do business, requirement to operate a motor vehicle, not necessarily something that's sought after for its enjoyment. Maybe I want to be known as being professional. Now, this is a common word, professional, that people use when they do this exercise, and I've done this quite a few times. And I always try to tell people that while this comes to mind often, it's very generic. Your definition of professional may be different than a consumer or a prospect. What is it that makes you professional? That's something that you would want to narrow it down to be a little bit more granular than professional. Okay, I included that here on purpose because I'm sure many of you have done the same. Because this is a fairly common one when I perform this exercise with groups. Okay, before we proceed, I'm going to go over this list. I trust that you guys are done as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about each one of these because they are individual words that I hope shows up in the conversation. You know, it's going to be very brief that anybody speaks about what we did for someone or do in our business to someone else. And so we want them to have some bullet points. And I hope this is what they share with people when they talk about me. But what are the underlying meanings of these words? How do we achieve this? Okay, so friendly, is another word for, and I chose friendly particularly because it's got a very positive connotation. But it's, being accessible, right? We're not intimidating if we're friendly, which is important because the type of business that we do, many clients don't understand it. Insurance is as a profession, being able to make sure people have the proper coverage and don't have pitfalls and that sort of thing takes expertise, and that can be intimidating. So I don't want that to be part of the interaction with me. I don't want people to be put off or intimidated by the interaction. So that's why I want to be friendly. Knowledgeable, of course, is very important because of the same reason. I can put people at ease by expressing to them, that I know what I'm doing. They're in good hands when they speak to someone that is knowledgeable. Their confidence is going to increase when they speak to somebody they can tell knows what they're doing. This is important to gain trust. And then come away enjoying the experience, meaning that if you have to purchase insurance anyway, in many cases you do, that you could at least have a bearable, if not enjoyable time doing so. That, the interaction is on a personal level, that we do have a relationship, and it is beyond just trying to get premium and sell a policy and try to get the customer out the door. And that comes down to, sharing human experiences, identifying with the person beyond what it is that their professional needs may be. And anything outside of the transaction at large can contribute to that. And if you're authentic and genuine and you care about those types of things, it's noticeable and can create an enjoyable experience. Okay, so these are some of the words that I would use. Perhaps you have different ones. But the purpose of this particular exercise is to identify with what they expect of you. Expectations come from what you tell the world you're all about. Kind of like how you dress or the type of car that you drive, or other fashion statements that you might make with your hair and these types of things. What you project to the world sets expectations. It lets people know kind of at a quick glance what it is to do interactions with you of any sort. And we do a fairly good job of that, some of us, when it comes to regular social activities as an individual, as a person. But we don't spend as much time doing that as a business or as a business person as we should, because that's what's going to separate you from everybody else. Because don't forget, you have quite a bit of competition out there. There's a lot of people that sell insurance, and you want to be recognizable. You want to stand out. You want to be the chosen one to perform that transaction for these people. Why would they choose you over someone else is going to come down to the expectations that you've set for yourself and how you deliver on them. And that's what's going to drive the difference between you and your competitors. And up until this point, you operated probably similarly to your competitors in that you didn't give much thought to this part of the process. And this is the cornerstone to operating a successful business. The best business and being the best insurance agent you can be comes down to knowing who you are so you can put yourself in the best possible position to succeed. Finding the right audience means knowing who you are so you can connect with the right people. Find the right client and also provide them with the best product because you're going to interact with the correct vendor or the correct carrier that suits your abilities and what it is that you deliver the world. These are very important and deliberate decisions that are going to shape business decisions and actions that you're going to take down the line. So this is the beginning of how to be the best insurance agent you can possibly be. So I'm very happy that you're here right now. Now, when people talk about branding, the original story of branding was about setting an iron on the back of a cow or a steer when you were running a cattle yard someplace in the Midwest. This happened over 150 years ago at its initiation. And what would happen is to be sure that when you arrived at the stockyard and you're out there selling your cattle for people that are, making sales or rations for beef, that they knew what they were getting. And the only way to identify with what they were going to receive was to burnish an identifier into the back hindquarters of the cow that you were raising. And if they arrived, then it had your initials or it had your logo on it. The people that were there to purchase and there to ship off the cows that were going to be made into foodstuffs, they knew that what they were getting. Because of historical purchases from this particular stockyard, they knew that it had the quality that they were looking for, or that they were fed or raised the way that they needed them to be, so they could package their product. That's what branding is about, and that's where the name comes from. So it's about delivering on the expectations because your name is on the line. And you've probably heard people say this as well. If I put my name on it, I stand behind it. That's a guarantee. That's my name. That's my reputation. Well, the same thing holds true here, just like it does in your regular social life outside of business. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, do they believe it? Do you actually do it? Do you come through? Do you do a job that's commensurate with what you said you were going to do? Or do you do an exceptional job? What is your reputation and what do people think of you when your name comes up? If you're not around and your friends are talking about you and you're in the restroom or you haven't arrived yet, what's the stories that are being told? Are you dependable? Are you friendly? Are you a good friend? Are you somebody that they can, go to war with if necessary? You're going to have somebody's back if necessary, if things get tight. These are the things that you've done for yourself in your social life and your personal life, and these are the types of things that we're going to arrive at through this series in the agency identification. This is the beginning of the rest of how to make very specific decisions that make your professional life easier in delivering on these expectations, because when you can sit back and re-examine why you started this to begin with and what it is that your base principles are, it makes these decisions and how to interact with the world much easier down the line. So I'm very happy for you to have joined us today. That's the first bit of this. There's several more exercises throughout the rest of this. Make sure that you have the paperwork with you throughout the rest of the presentation. And let's get on with the next part.